Hello. So I'm joined by Cristina Gomez today. It's lovely, lovely to be with you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate your time. So we're going to start by asking you a little bit about yourself. So how did you get involved in health and safety? Every woman that I have interviewed so far has said I didn't do it on purpose. So is that the same for you?
Well, the first thing, Heather, hello, and thank you for having me in the podcast and being part of this beautiful project that is Rebel Woman. So congratulations from my side. And yeah, I was nodding because I think that you studied biology, and after that, something that it wasn't quite similar, that it was building engineer. And I thought that I wanted to be a site manager and be in site. And when I began to work in health and safety, do you remember the Lehman Brothers crisis? It was in the same period, Heather. So
Oh,
it
really?
was absolute.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely awful in terms of
Yeah.
especially in Spain, because I think that maybe in the UK you have a more robust job market. But in Spain, it was a terrible, terrible situation talking about regarding economy. And so basically, I applied for being a site manager and I finished being a health and safety professional because I've studied a master's degree in health and safety. And to be honest, Heather, I fell in love in the profession. I
Oh,
remember.
that's so nice. You fell in love with a profession.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the beginning, I'm really, I'm good at this topic. I'm good leading health and safety, and I suppose that I fell in love with the profession, but it wasn't on purpose, as you mentioned before.
I'm really interested in this because you said you worked out you were good at it. What made you good at it? What is it that you think you brought as strengths which made you good at it?
Uh, basically, I think that the first point or the first moment it was technical background because in my foundations as a professional, the first stage was basically learning about legal regulation, technical procedure. So basically, I thought that I was comfortable managing all these legal requirements. After maybe 5 years, I was involved in a role like a CDM coordinator or principal designer on construction site. And I remember that at the beginning I really hated because it was full of discussions about the construction side, about how to implement procedure, and it was all the time conflict, Heather, and I really hated. But after a couple of years, leading that such difficult safety conversations, I've improved my skills and I improved my assertive conversations, and it was useful finally for me even as a personal way, in my personal scope with my kids, with my parents, with my family, with my husband. So at the beginning, I thought that I was really good at the technical scope, and after that, working as a health and safety professional make me improve my soft skills. So yeah, I think that it was the scenario and the
That
journey.
has been a consistent theme that obviously soft skills are so important. And one of our interviewees, Rosie Russell, says soft skills are hard skills. And they are, aren't they? And I think that's the thing, combining that technical know-how with the soft skills is what is really required in the profession, but also makes it actually quite a really skilled profession. So what took you to senior leadership?
Well, I suppose that by practice at the beginning, as I mentioned, basically when I turned the role from a more technical side to leading construction side, it was something mandatory if I want to be successful, being surrounded by a lot of men working in construction. And after that, I support her that, with a lot of training, reading, a lot of books, being involved in any workshop that to be honest, are basically my mentors. So people who were surrounding me, maybe like as a external supplier, maybe my line manager, were a mentor, and I suppose that I learned from them my soft
Learn
skills.
from them. Okay. Okay. What is your actual role at the moment, Christina?
In a
Wow.
renewable sector, in a portfolio company. We are part of Brookfield Renewable portfolio. We are talking about energy transition, leading from a Canadian fund, who is really, really,
Okay.
really, a really difficult role. And from March, I'm leading a March with a British company that it was called Atrato Group. So we are integrating both companies and both cultures and both health and safety cultures. And we are trying to create a European platform about energy transition. We are going to incorporate certain projects in France, in Italy, in Poland, not only UK, Spain, and Portugal. So, a really challenging for me situation right now. Integrating different culture, different role, different
Yes.
companies. Yeah, really, really something really difficult, Heather.
And a very broad role as well. I think these broad roles should be encouraged because there's so much synergy between them ultimately, isn't there? And there's so much convergence between governance, the way we have to manage people. And the more I think we can bring these together, the better. But I can see it must be challenging. You must have to have experts in each area. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's really difficult. Leading sustainability. I think that it was a progressive pathway, Heather. At the beginning it was health and safety. After that it came environment. Being in Finland right now, I've included security. In a couple of previous roles, I've included sustainability also. So to be honest, the only area that is out of my scope right now, I think that is quality. So
It's quality.
it's
Yes.
quality
Yes.
because I have sustainability that is really broad because we're talking about
Yes.
government, we are talking about environment and social impact,
Yes.
security that is more physical security, and of course health and safety and environment. So yeah, it's really, really wide and really broad, and sometimes really difficult, and with different jackets. I had a one comparison that I always use. That we health and safety professionals sometimes we use marketing jacket, and we are focused on
Yes.
selling with our internal
Nice.
client. With
Yes.
sometimes we are a lawyer with a legal jacket, and we are yeah, we are talking about legal requirement trial, yeah, criminal risks for the company. So sometimes we have the people or human resources jacket for culture, and many, many, many roles, many, many different positions, from legal, that is really really technical in a certain way, to talking about culture, yeah, environment and health and safety that also have a technical background. Sometimes talking about communication, and sustainability, that not avoiding greenwashing, these kind of things, and of course selling our role to the board, to the health and safety committee, to the steering committee, and even to our employees. So many, many jackets to the same role.
I absolutely love that analogy. I already know this is going to be a clip I'm going to take because I haven't heard that before and it makes such a lot of sense. You are wearing all these jackets, and that's what makes it such a challenging, but I guess ultimately satisfying profession as well. You're having to call on all of these strengths, aren't you, and these skills. The most surprising thing for you about being in health and safety?
For me, I think that is purpose, Heather. To be honest, maybe it's a little bit idealistic, but I always wake up every morning thinking that I'm working for a better environment for my employees. We are not the contractor, we are the client. So basically, even having a fatality could be in an external employee, from a contractor or subcontractor. So, but in a certain way, I think that we improve the society, the community. We protect our employees. You are, basically focus on well-being. Trying to improve mental
Yes.
health for our employees and to get better scenarios, better situations for our collaborators and even for member of the public, because we are really focused on trying to avoid certain risks for the community. And we work with university, for example, trying to lead certain project with the universities and students. The companies working in energy transition. So we are working for a better community, for a better world. So sometimes it sounds really, really idealistic, but I think that we improve the society, we improve the quality of the life of our employees and of the people who are working in a construction site from Finland. So, uh, you know, for me, it's a matter of a purpose. Sometimes some people just work trying to get a salary, and I think that is, absolutely perfect. In my case, what it makes the difference is working about
Yes.
purpose.
100%. So, one thing that I've noticed though, Christina, is I agree with you that it is a profession that has a lot of meaning and purpose associated with it. But I also see that there's a paradox in that it can make you potentially more susceptible to burning out. Have you noticed that? Would you agree? Is it something you've maybe experienced yourself or seen around you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a key point, Heather, to read my mind. To be honest, yeah, I'm an American professor from Wharton University, and he wrote a book that is called Giver and Taker. and and he mentioned, that theory that you mentioned before about if you are a giver and you give so much to to the other people, maybe you are in risk to be burned out. And sometimes are just using people to their own purpose, like the takers. And
Yeah.
he did a research about what it was more successful for for the companies, having more people, having a giver. And the final conclusion from Aaron Grant book, it was that the giver, having more people in the team working as a giver, finally makes more successful organization. But one of the topic that he introduced in the book, it was that certain people so focus in purpose in trying to help more, the colleagues and the team, sometimes the risks that they really have is to be burned out. And yeah, you are definitely right. So in my case, I try to balance, my personal life. I think that is something that I learned in the journey. I made that mistake many years ago,
Yes.
to be so absolutely burned out, and now try to to take a rest, to have more time for myself, and I learned to say no to certain things, but it was really tough.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to have a look at that book
Yeah.
because I run a questionnaire for on burnout, and I had a lot of health and safety professionals who've answered it, and that has been something that's really shown up that it's these roles that have high meaning and purpose associated with them, where there is more susceptibility to burnout, and yes, it's fascinating. So now you work obviously internationally, but you're based in Madrid. And I'm assuming that and it looks like you've been working in the profession for quite a while. So, have you seen many changes take place? Because when we look at the UK, we've seen a lot of change in the profession, in the demographics of the profession, in how the profession works. What have you seen change in from your perspective?
Well, I think that is quite similar, to be honest. When I was, involved in that in Congress or maybe events in the UK, to be honest, my personal thought or my personal reflections after being involved, in international and especially, in UK events with health and safety professional, that the situation is quite similar. Problems is basically the same, not depending the location. And as you mentioned
Yes.
before, the profession has changed a lot, Heather. I've been involved in health and safety for more than 20 years. And some, you know, 20 years ago, we talk about a technical profession, full of these
Yes.
requirements
Yes.
about, legal requirements, yeah, uh, regulations, and maybe, especially after pandemics, I must say, after COVID, you know, uh, I think that the scenario has fully changed because we are talking about, mental health, about well-being, about soft skills. Well, safety differently, safety too. We are talking, in in the latest Congress that I've been involved. I remember, maybe 1 year ago saying to one of my close friends, I'm in this Congress, being as a speaker, whatever, and I don't really know that it's a health and safety congress or a mental health congress or, a psychologist congress because we are talking about things that are, maybe 20 years ago we weren't talking and not about definitely legal requirements, technical issues, no, not really.
Yeah, yeah. What's been one of the biggest challenges, would you say, in your career, and what helped you navigate that?
I think that the hardest challenge in my career, I'm feeling right now in the most difficult moment of my career, my professional career, Heather, trying to lead a platform, a European platform, with many locations, many projects located in different countries, and working in a startup background. We are creating the procedure, the standard policies. Nothing was, created before of my incorporation 1 year and a half. So, because I work with in international scope when I was in Siemens Gamesa, for example, but now
Yes.
everything is new. At the other
Yep.
hand, to be honest, it's really beautiful because you create the project from zero and trying to adapt it to the thing that you think that are more positive for the company. But it's really difficult. I have my line manager is the CEO based in London. I have people, based in the UK, based in Italy. I have, I'm talking about diversity. All the people in my team that they came from different locations, from different geographies. I have
Mm.
one person from Guatemala. I have one person from Spain. I have one person from Italy and one person from the UK. So we have diversity, something really interesting to grow the department, but sometimes it's really difficult. And I'm leading a mat with two companies, and sometimes it's really, really hard. Having being Spanish, being a woman,
Yeah.
not being based in the UK,
Yes.
with an operational director from Germany, it's really difficult. So in that moment, it's the most difficult that I face in all over my career. Of course, I have difficult moments. I have a fatality 3 years ago, and it was personally, it was so difficult, because it was so awful. That guy had four kids, and
Oh,
after the fatality, there were, without his father, and it was terrible. And to be honest,
Yeah.
we have that bias of thinking, you know, we can do more as a company. We can
Yeah.
avoid that fatality, and it was one of the most difficult, moments in my career. But it's a talent, but you grow as a professional, you know, facing that
Yeah.
situation. So for me, finally, it's an opportunity of as improvement.
You've mentioned earlier that obviously you've worked with a lot of men and that you've learned from them. But do you think being a woman has created particular challenges or opportunities throughout your career?
Talking about challenges, sometimes it was really difficult to balance my personal life with my professional life.
Mm. Yeah.
And this is a conversation that I have many, many times with my husband, because he's a country manager, leading a company in Spain, but with UK report. Sometimes we have certain similarities, and for me, the first difference is that, for example, talking about our families, maybe my mother or my mother-in-law, they're supporting him, saying, "You are an amazing professional." And in my case, sometimes Hada, and to laugh at it, because sometimes my mother is even critical. You are really focused
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
job, and and in my husband case, they are clapping, yeah, you are focused on,
Yes.
and sometimes it's even
Yes.
even our social environment,
Yes.
and sometimes, and try to balance, your personal life, and sometimes you are fighting, or you are, with some men that are absolutely focused just on his part, in the professional career, and they're forgetting
Yes.
their kids, and you are not fighting in the same league. you know
No. No, you're not. No.
you are
No.
not
No.
you are not and sometimes it's really difficult. My advice to people, who are coming from the new generation is not to give up. Try and try and try, although when you have little kids sometimes it's really difficult, and not feeling guilty, because you are a superwoman, and not feeling guilty in spite. Sometimes it's really difficult because you receive critical even from your close environment, from your family, and about you know positive things, or maybe opportunity of improvement being a woman. I think that is the way that we we our negotiation skills, assertive we are, leading conversations, so we are not so direct like some men. And I think that,
Yeah.
talking about soft skills, we are definitely,
Yes.
in general terms,
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
a really wide scope. But I think that we
Yes.
are better, working with the team in a performance review, in a performance meeting, and I think that we are brilliant in that way. So that for me, is important.
Yes. 100%. And health and safety has traditionally attracted in the past a fairly narrow demographic, hasn't it? And certainly in the UK, it was generally men, white men over 50 who had had a particular career path. So now we obviously have got a broader demographic, but why do you think it's important that we encourage diversity in this profession specifically?
Right now, my team is full, with different
Yes.
nationalities. One woman, the rest of the are men, and I think that diversity is something that, uh, I think that sometimes we have that bias to try and to look for people who are at the same age, with the same nationality. It's
It's
something,
similar to us. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But sometimes having this kind of people who has different minds, sometimes is you know, forcing you to grow, and I think that is important. And
Yes.
to be honest, in Spain, we are incorporated a lot of people from South America. You know, the Spanish speaker, they are really interested in the profession. So we are integrating diversity, we want or not, because it's a reality in the profession. And maybe I think that we are changing the mind, and we are more transition to having more women in, in the health and safety team. And definitely I think that is something positive for the companies, and for our department, for our team, having this, you know, diversity, and of course a challenge for us. You know.
So you talked about never stopping. You talked about having learning from some of the men around you. But looking back, what do you think, maybe aside from those things, have made the biggest difference to your ability to succeed and stay the course in this profession?
I'm really a calm person, you know, with a lot of passion, but, you know, really patient person. And,
Yeah.
you know, for me, that it was, and it's not something that came from, you know, from my vision, you know, it's something that people say definitely that I'm a really, really calm person with a lot of, you know, really patient. They, you know, when some colleagues uh, mentioned, you know, my abilities, they talk about, of course, being a woman, surrounded by a, and sometimes, you know, I suppose that being tough, finally, you must be tough. And they really think that I'm really good at communication. And it wants, you know, with an internal client, with external client, communication, the success of my department, because nobody is going to be sell your department or your work or your job. It's really important to be, you know, like a sales manager sometimes, and using the commercial jacket that we mentioned before,
Your jacket, yeah,
because
yeah.
nobody is going to promote you, and definitely, you know, trying to promote your personal brand with the startup client, and maybe using LinkedIn. For me, it was even a tool with the department trying to get certain health and safety award. And for me, it was a strategy to have, you know, try to get visibility. For me, the important thing when we get that those awards is trying to have more visibility for the department,
Yes.
and it was a tool
Yeah.
for increasing our ego. You know, it's something
No.
about getting visibility externally and internally with our board and our steering committee, and it's something really, really important. So my colleagues said about my skills that I really work in communication, and, you know, talking with different levels of communication with the board of the director, with a, maybe with an operator on site. And finally, one I think that makes me different as a professional, it was talking about financial
Yeah.
languages. You know, it was something
Yeah.
really difficult for me. Technical,
Yeah.
you know, procedures and these kind of things. They don't want to listen. You know,
No.
they don't want to hear about procedure. They want to talk about, you know, what is return of investment, this kind of thing. So, you know, for me, is, you know, like my key skills as a professional.
Christina, I can see why you are successful, but what legacy would you like to leave in health and safety looking ahead? And would you have advice for the next generation of women coming through?
You know, definitely my next challenge, Heather, is talking about legacy, and I really think about my legacy. And I have two things that are, you know, important for me talking about my legacy. The first one is trying to improve the profession. You know, 5 years ago, one of my line managers said to me, Christina, you must be great. It was on a performance review, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. I will never be a great professional. Heather. I'm, you know, in technical.
No. Yes. Yes.
But my line manager at that moment, he wants me to be more technical, and I say I can't. You know,
No,
I can't. Maybe you must think about another professional because it's not.
isn't you?
I'm
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
I'm not myself.
No.
And so one of the things that I want to promote in my legacy, Heather, is is working and helping in that the profession definitely won't be great. It would be
Yeah.
technical, with
Oh,
different,
I love that. Yeah.
because we must jump to be the technical role, the technical professional, and the other one is, really, really, really something really close to your podcast and woman and health and safety and rebel women, your book, that is trying to promote the visibility of women in the profession. And because I suffer so much having, a women in health and safety, sometimes it was so difficult that I want to
Mm,
help the next generations, trying to give my help and my advice to have more women in the profession, more panelists in the congress, more
yes.
speakers,
Yes. Yeah.
because we work really hard, but we don't have that visibility because we are
No.
focused in trying to balance our personal and professional life, and we think that we
Yes.
are really busy to be in a congress, and this is a big mistake.
A 100%, 1,000%, Christina. I am constantly trying to get women to just be more visible, and there seems to be, as you said, they're balancing professional and personal life. They are busy being busy, and they actually see their value in terms of productivity, sometimes not necessarily. And I think maybe they feel like, well, that isn't for me somehow. And somebody said to me last week, I think it was Karen McDonnell, she said, doesn't help you outside your organization, it helps you inside your organization too if you're visible. Speaking to your point about awards and things like that, it just helps you. So I'm really happy that you're also going to be banging that drum. It's such a shame that we are in this position where when we think of the most senior people in health and safety, the biggest academics, the biggest voices, they're usually men, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have a big challenge about that, Hannah. So sometimes we don't really dare. And thinking about my career, about some mistakes that I've done, or maybe some learnings. Raise your hand and say, I'm here. I want that
Yes.
role. I want that position. And I remember when I worked in consultancy many years ago, that I said to myself, they will call me, but they won't. Heather, and
Yeah.
I was
No.
waiting for many years, and after that, I suppose that I raised my hand for everything that I can. I'm here. I'm able. I
Yes.
think that I have the
Yes.
rules. I have the
Yeah.
skills, and I can do it. And I think that is one, yeah, an amazing piece of advice. Raise your hand, no waiting for that call from your line manager, from the steering committee, from the technical director, just to there and raise your hand.
Well, Cristina Gomez, I think that's a lovely place to leave our chat today. Thank you so much. It's been so valuable. There's so much that I can take from what you've said today and share. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. It was an amazing conversation. Thank you.